It's 2018, and that means Victory Family Church is 25 years old. Wow, that's incredible. That's a quarter century of praising, preaching, and sharing the unconditional love of God that makes you want to shout, "Look at what the Lord has done." And hey, when you're 25 years young and looking this good, you have to celebrate. So let's do that together. Let's take a minute to look at what God has done through our church in the last 25 years. On July 8th, 1989, Pastor John and Michelle Nuzzo were traveling through Cranberry Township on their way to speak at a church in Apollo, Pennsylvania, when God first put it on their hearts that they would start a church here someday.
We're just right at a certain spot, and I can remember that spot vividly because the Spirit of God came upon me, and it was just in my heart. In a general witness, He said, "You'll pastor a church here one day."
And it was kind of unusual because we were kind of just in a conversation, and it just stopped immediately because God's presence filled the.
It was powerful.
Yeah, it really was.
On October 17th, 1993, Pastor John and Michelle obeyed the Lord's command and started Victory Christian Fellowship, now Victory Family Church, in the cinema world of the Cranberry Mall. 33 people were in attendance at the first service.
It was a God-sized dream from day one. And that very first Sunday, I stood up and told everybody, all 33 people, that we would touch the region and thousands of people would be a part of this church.
Victory met in various locations for its midweek service, including Fresh Air Camp, the Sheridan Inn, now the Doubletree, and the Chadwick Crown Banquet Facility. On July 8th, 1994, Pastor John and Michelle made the decision to go forward and buy land for Victory's first permanent location. In August of 1997, Victory moved into that location at 216 Mystic Pine Trail in Cranberry Township. Within a few short months, the average weekend attendance grew to more than 500 people.
It was growing, and we were trying to figure it out, and we realized that there's no more room on a Sunday morning, and so we actually started a Saturday night service, and that quickly became full.
Before long, it became apparent that we had outgrown our first home. In June of 2001, Victory purchased 64 acres of prime real estate for a new facility on Route 19 in the northern part of Cranberry Township. The property was bordered by Route 19 and Interstate 79, two heavily traveled roadways, making Victory's future home very visible to the community.
The Spirit of God really spoke to my heart, and He said, "I want you to trust me for the land Walmart wants." We bought the land and developed it. I get a phone call, and it's a broker for Walmart. And the broker said, "Look, we've seen the land that we find out your church owns it. I represent Walmart, and we'd like to talk to you about buying the property." And I told him, I said, "Well, it's not for sale." And he said, "Well, everything's for sale." I said, "You don't know my boss. This is not for sale."
In March of 2005, construction on Phase 1 of the new building began. And in April of 2006, the first service was held in the new building. Within the first week of moving into the building, attendance jumped from an average of 965 people in weekend services to almost 1,700.
I can't tell you how many times I said to the people that were there, "We are called to touch a region."
And those people gave, and they prayed, and they believed God with us.
And they served.
And we're so thankful for those people because they really are the ones who laid that foundation.
In fewer than 2 years after construction, we had almost reached capacity of the new building and saw over 2,400 people give their lives to Christ. We were living the dream, and it was a full-on party. In January of 2008, with an average weekend attendance of more than 2,300, it was time to build again. The new sanctuary would be a 2,400-seater and would cost approximately $14 million to build. During impartation services in 2011, God led Pastor Keith Moore and his ministry to sow $1 million into the project. And within a few short months, construction on the new sanctuary began. When you look at the first 18 years of our church, one thing is clear. We had heart for the young people. In 2011, our heart to reach the next generation drove us to change the way we did our services and the way we marketed ourselves to the community. Not only did our logo change, but so did our style. Gone were the days of plants and pastels. We started using creativity and stories of life change differently, and our services were geared towards an overall experience.
We believe Victory's call was not just to be for a group of people to come to church, have church, help each other and go home, but we were going to touch a region.
On June 8th, 2013, Victory held its first service in the new sanctuary. The vision that Pastor John and Michelle talked about that very first Sunday had started to become a reality. The new building made the church even more visible to the community, who soon recognized it as the beaming church on the hill. Things were looking differently for our next generation ministries as well. We transformed the old sanctuary into a place designed for teens and separated our children's ministry into a brand new middle school ministry. As we approached 2015, we made giant steps forward in facilitating connection. The introduction of the Our Church experience and small groups gave us the chance to not only worship and learn together, but also to become one church family. In 2017, Victory Family Church was named the 45th fastest growing church in the nation by Outreach Magazine. The growth of small groups and our next-gen ministry forced us to expand our facility yet again, creating new places for groups to meet. As we opened these spaces, we enlarged our hearts beyond our four walls and into our community.
We are the hands and feet of Jesus, and He wants us as His body to be mobilizing.
We expanded our outreach through outreach teams that would serve the community and people across the globe. We sent teams of volunteers and thousands of pounds of goods to help people affected by Hurricane Harvey. We created the Exchange Network to train other church staffs and pastors to find new ways to expand their reach into their communities. And just this year, we launched the Waymaker School of Ministry to train and equip young people to answer their call to ministry. We are on a mission to help all people realize that God loves them unconditionally. We want all people to come to know God, find freedom, discover their purpose, and ultimately make an impact for Christ with their lives. As we stand in amazement of all that God has done in our church over the last 25 years, it is on this foundation that we dream of the way God will use us in the years to come. So here's to the past, and to each of you who have been a part of this journey over the last 25 years, thank you. And here's to the future and to the adventure in front of us as we continue to pursue the mission God has called us to.
Where this church is heading is going to make what we had to trust God for in the early days look like we were asleep. And you're about to watch a miracle happen. And the miracle is right here in this house right now, and you are a part of it.